our prospect analyst from Daily Faceoff, joins us for the next wave. Steven, yesterday we talked about a couple of recently eliminated prospects in the NCAA tournament who are grabbing the attention of NHL teams. But you're the prospect man, so I want to ask you, which guy who's recently been bounced from the NCAA tournament is catching your eye?
Well, first off, Tyler, since you follow the Oilers, Mikko Koskinen retired. I don't know if you noticed that today. So some Finnish outlets were reporting that today. Obviously, a bit of a weird career there, and he wore number 19. You don't see that for goalies often. Obviously, a lot of talk about Jimmy Snuggerud, a guy I'm really high on. But the one that I'm very interested in here is Jackson Blake, and that's a Carolina Hurricanes prospect. Someone that he had a very good draft season with the Chicago Steel, but I don't think anyone kind of saw the numbers he was going to put up at North Dakota. He had 42 points as a rookie. He had 60 points this year. He was in the scoring hunt the entire season. So the thing about here is like, okay, what happens? Will he turn pro? I know some people think that he might, some think he won't. With those numbers, you look at there and say, what does he have to prove at this point? Because those are good numbers. Obviously, they've now come short twice now at the University of North Dakota in terms of going to the national title game. I think that's something he would probably like to have another chance at. Also, with the Carolina Hurricanes, it's like they don't have an AHL affiliate next year. So if he doesn't make the Hurricanes, which I don't think he would next year, where does he play? So that kind of complicates things a little further there. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing there. And I don't know, Frank, if you got any insight on that, but with Blake, I think that the talent there is ready for him to go turn pro. I think he's got all the talent in the world. Maybe one of the better later round draft picks that the Hurricanes have picked up the last couple of years, and they're really good at that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens there.
So they don't have an AHL affiliate yet. I know that there's a lot of peace talks going on to see if they could broker a connection between the Chicago Wolves and Canes again. We'll see if that happens, but I don't know that they could go another season. It's certainly less than ideal being the only NHL team without an AHL affiliate. They tried to buy other AHL teams. They tried to plead with the league to, create a new 33rd franchise. The AHL is not going down that path. So we'll see if they can put the genie back in the bottle. But when it comes to the free agent hunt, undrafted free agents, there's been so much talk about Colin Graff from Quinnipiac, being the number one guy. With all due respect, I think the number one undrafted free agent in terms of ceiling is Jacob Quillin, who ends up going to the Toronto Maple Leafs yesterday, a Nova Scotia kid. What's his ceiling?
Yeah, I think with Quillin, you're not going to get a guy who's going to go out there and put 40, 50 points in the NHL. What he is going to do is put in a full 200-foot effort every single game. And I think for Leaf fans now, you're seeing that. Maybe look at a slightly more skilled Pontus Holmberg, who I was a big fan when he came over. He had some really good seasons in Sweden before making the trek over to the NHL. I thought he's looked good in his time with the team. With Quillin, he'll be starting with the Toronto Marlies. I think it'll be a good opportunity for him to kind of just get used to the pro game. He's improved a lot. Last year he had 38 points. This year he had 46. Not a huge jump in offense, but the real thing there was how reliable he was at every zone there. I think it became clear, when he was not putting up a ton of points as a freshman at Quinnipiac, that he was going to have to find other ways to be effective. And he's done that by, again, being a very good defensive forward. He's willing to get physical, doesn't take a lot of penalties, isn't making dumb mistakes. He's really smart, and he could play with anyone, play in any scenario, play it on the power play, play to the penalty kill, played with Colin Graff, again, the guy that everyone's been talking about right now, linked to a few teams. But with Quillin, it was funny. I was at the Leafs game last night talking to some people about him. It's like, yeah, he'd be actually a really good fit for this Leafs team. And I kid you not, I don't know, 30 seconds later, the official signing comes out. And it's like, oh, okay, well, good timing there. But I think I'm very high on him. I wouldn't have had him maybe number one or number two in this year's free agent crop, but he was definitely close up there because, again, not a huge offensive ceiling, but he does so many other things that will make him very valuable to the Leafs, at least in the short term.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying, why would an undrafted free agent sign with a good team? You have less opportunity, whereas you could go to the Sharks or pick another team that might be interested and step right into the NHL and play. For me, I think, A, you want to play with really good players, and B, look at the Leafs. Their bottom six is not lighting the world on fire. And if you're the Leafs, you always need guys that are making league minimum or just about on an entry-level contract that at least presents them a better opportunity to get into the lineup with the stars that they have. But I digress. Macklin Celebrini, we just touched on him. Man, what if the Chicago Blackhawks could add him as he moves on to the Frozen Four with Boston University? You've got a story coming out on him on Wednesday, sizing up his fantastic freshman season. What are you going to tell us?
Well, here's a quote that I got from a scout yesterday. What he's showing in college, he's showing how complete of a player he is. Dare I say, maybe even more complete than Connor Bedard. Now, Connor Bedard, obviously you see what he's able to do. I still will say Bedard is definitely the number one compared to him and Celebrini in terms of, prospect rankings from between those two. But with Celebrini, he does put in the effort everywhere. And I think a big question mark with Bedard specifically in his Calder race this year is just how not great defensively he is, especially when you see like Brock Faber doing what he's doing in Minnesota. But with Celebrini defensively, he's awesome. And then you see these numbers here, 32 goals, 64 points, one of the most productive seasons we've ever seen from a freshman. And I believe he's now third in scoring all time among U17 player, 17-year-old players, I should say. And the two guys ahead of him are guys that played in the 70s and 80s. And, that alone, you just look at that and it's like college hockey was nowhere near the same back then. Goalies weren't good. The best players weren't going to go play college. It's a much stronger game right now. We're seeing a lot of the top prospects. Like I was at the OHL Cup final this past weekend, and a lot of the top prospects that usually would have been locked for the OHL, it looks like they're all going to be going to the NCAA instead. So that's continuing to be a very interesting thing there. But with what Celebrini's done this year, it's just incredible numbers. He's just one of the hardest working players. And you look at him at, the U18s last year, the World Juniors this year, someone that has always had to play against older competition and is always one of the best players no matter what. So he didn't lead the NCAA in scoring this year, but given that he missed time to go join Canada's World Junior team, that he had that injury at the start of the year, he'd be my pick for the Hobey Baker, and he is a top 10 finalist. We will know in the coming days who the final three are. I think he should be there because I just think this guy he's special. I don't know how else to put it other than he's special. Again, Bedard I still think's better, but Celebrini is a number one pretty much every year in the draft. Otherwise, he's just that good.
Yes or no answer. If Celebrini was eligible for last year's draft, would it have been Bedard, Celebrini, Carlson, Fantilli in that order?
Absolutely. Like what Fantilli did last year in college was unbelievable, but what Celebrini's doing as a younger player this year is more remarkable. So I 100% think that's how it'd be.
Let's quickly wrap up with this. Give me your Frozen Four champion prediction.
It wasn't easy for the Boston College Eagles to kind of get to where they were in the regionals. It almost looked like it was going to be over for them, but a team with Will Smith, Ryan Leonard, Gabe Perreault, Cutter Gauthier, and an elite goalie and Jacob Fowler. They're the top team all year long. That's the group I'd be going with right now. I just think they got too much talent to back off. So Johnny Lazarus had a good piece last week, kind of looking at how strong this team is, and I would not be betting against them.
The next wave delivered by DoorDash. Thanks, Steven.
Thanks so much.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.